Alright, so Night of the Seven Kingdoms, episode 6. Okay, so that was pretty interesting, eh? So let's dive right into it. First of all, we open up on Lionel and this Maester guy just kind of staring at Dunk for a few seconds. It's kind of meant to be comedic, which honestly, I get the joke. I almost would have preferred, though, if the episode sort of opened right directly on Baelor's funeral instead of having that towards the middle of the beginning of the episode, rather than sort of opening on this funny comedic bit after we had such sort of upsetting ending at the end of the last episode, right? Nevertheless, though, we get this interesting conversation between Dunk and Lionel, and once again, Lionel being Lionel, says some treasonous things. I think he says, like, the only good dragon is a dead dragon, which, of course, very, very treasonous, though it is quite interesting to see that Dunk actually gets an offer to come live with Lionel at Storm's End, and it's like, oh, well, this is what he wanted, right? He wanted to take service in some great lord's household. That's why he entered the tournament in the first place. He hoped that he could impress the great lords, and they would reward him with service in their household, right? And you see this throughout the episode with Maekar as well. Maekar offers Dunk the place at Summerhall, and initially it's like, oh, well, you think Dunk would take it, right? Because this is what he wanted. But at the end of the day, he's like, no, I don't want this. Dunk has kind of had his illusions about the nobility dispelled, right? And so he's like, no, I think I'll take the life on the road. That is the life of a true hedge knight. Which also, by the way, we did not get that line from Sir Arlen about how the hedge knight is the truest kind of knight because they serve whichever side they think is just. And I thought we were going to get that when we got the Sir Arlen flashback in about the middle of the episode, but oh my gosh, we'll get to that. Very, very interesting thing he said there. It took me a second to realize what he was saying as well. Nevertheless, though, after Dunk and Lionel talk, we flash pretty quickly into the actual funeral, right? And you can see in attendance we have Maekar, we have Egg, we have Valar, we have Manfred Dondarrion, who's there because Baelor's wife was Jenna Dondarrion. And I'm not sure if she's Manfred Dondarrion's sister or his aunt. Either way, though, related to Baelor, so that's why he's there, if you were wondering. And also we've got Sir Donald Duskendale and Sir Roland Craycall. Sir Willem Wilde isn't there, and you wouldn't know this unless you actually read the wiki or read the novella. I personally read the wiki. Sir Willem Wilde actually was knocked unconscious during the trial by Seven, so that's why he's not here in this shot, which it's really weird, because like there are 3 Kingsguard here, and I get that in novella Dunk only talks to 2 of them, but still, it's like a blink and you miss it for Sir Willem Wilde. I mean, he was in the background shot of episode 2, and then in episode 3, when the Kingsguard come out to quell the crowd, it's just 2 Kingsguard with helmets on, so we don't even know who's who. And in episode 4, I think they do mention that there's 3 Kingsguard. However, in episode 5, it's a blink and you miss it that there are actually 3 Kingsguard, right? Anyway, so yeah, just a little nitpick, not super important. Anyway, though, then Dunk goes to the funeral, and he doesn't make it in time to see the pyre actually burning, but he does see the Silent Sisters cleaning up Baelor's remains, and he goes and talks to Valar. And Valar does say specifically that, Baelor did die in his armor, in case it wasn't clear, because I imagine if you were like a casual watcher, you might not realize that, like, oh, that's Valar's armor that Baelor was wearing. And that's why he died, because the helmet didn't fit him, so when Maekar's mace hit Baelor's head, it caved in the helmet, because it was made for Valar rather than Baelor, and Baelor didn't have his armor because he wasn't planning on jousting at the tournament. Nevertheless, though, we get Valar spitting some bars with saying, like, hey, my father was a great man, why is he dead, and you still alive, right? And I also like how Valar is not like, why did you do this? Like, he's not like raving, mad, lunatic, upset at Dunk, but he's also not like friendly with him, and he's like, be gone, Sir Duncan. Which I really like, because it's like, that it's not technically Dunk's fault that his father's is dead, but it's also like he's not at fault, right? And so, much like Maekar mentions later in the episode, they're gonna hate Dunk and they're gonna hate Maekar, because whenever something goes wrong in the future, they're always gonna say, this wouldn't have happened under Baelor. Anyway, though, then Dunk decides to go and wander the camps, and we can see that everyone's packing up their tents as well, and he runs into Sir Stefan Fossaway, and they give a nice little hug, and I like how Dunk's like, okay, that's good, And we also get to see proper the Green Apple shield, right? And I think Raymond actually fully says, like, the Green Apple Fossilids. It's like, okay, so this is officially a branch house now. And then we get the funny little bit of Red popping out of the tent. I think her name is, they say her name is Lady Rowan. I don't know if she made that up or if that's her actual name. Either way, though, she and Stefan got married in the time in between the trial and now. And it's funny because she's like, oh, she's with child now. And I can just see that Dunk's like, that's not how it works, buddy. And he's like, you seem happy? I'm gonna hold my tongue. I must admit, I was laughing so hard at that. Like, there have been some funny moments in this show, but that was by far the funniest, just to me personally. Like, because the audience is like, we know that's not how it works. And Dunk knows that's not how it works. And Rowan knows that's not how it works. Everyone in the universe except for Raymond knows that's not how it works. But he seems so happy, so we're not gonna spoil it, and instead we're just gonna hold back laughter. Nevertheless, though, I'm happy for Raymond, and he seems happy, and good job on Rowan for nailing down a little lordling. Anyway, though, then Mykar summons Dunk to talk to him, and essentially says, I'm sending Arion away because he's crazy, and Egg really wants to squire for you, so will you have him? And I'll let you come to Summer Hall, I'll let my Master at Arms train you up, and that way you can train up Egg, and that way he can be a worthy prince of the realm. And Dunk's like, look at me, man, my eyes closed, I'm on a cane, and this is all because I decided to interfere with princes. Like, I'm not gonna do this anymore. I am done with interfering with the royals. It only caused me pain, it's only caused the realm pain, because Baelor died, trying to help me. And I also like how Mykar is like, I'm gonna hear the whispers of behind everyone's backs of the fact that I killed my brother until the day I die, which is, I thought it was a really powerful line for me personally. It's like, oh yeah, that is, you may not have intended to do it, but you did do it, and that's gonna stick with you for a long, long time. And of course, the reason why it's so prevalent is not just the fact that Baelor is dead, but the fact that his brother Mykar, who killed him, and in Westeros, kinslaying is the greatest sin there is. I think you would even put it above breaking guest right, in all honesty. Though, ironically enough, instances of people doing kinslaying in the main series are more prevalent than the breaking of guest right, I think. Nevertheless, though, after that conclusion finishes, Dunk goes to talk with Egg, and he's just like, I'm sorry, kid, I cannot take you on. I'm done with princes. This has caused me so much, heart, and it's caused the realm hurt, and it's just, I can't do it. Then we flash to Dunk and Sir Arlen under the tree, which, I'm not sure if it's, a flashback, or a dream sequence, or, he's daydreaming or something. I'm not sure. This is actually the first time as well that we've heard Sir Arlen, properly speak, right? Because, first few episodes, he only ever made grunts, and then he had, one proper line, or two proper lines in the last episode, the name of the mother, leave that boy alone, and get up. And this time, he's actually, full-on, speaking, right? He's talking about the history of the penny tree, the village where he's from, and the reason, because he's got a giant tree in the center, right? And it's full of pennies, and he's talking about, each time a boy goes off to war, they nail a penny in the tree, and how many boys have come to collect those pennies at the end of it, right? Essentially saying that so many people die in war. And then Dunk drops the bomb that we as book readers have been pretty sure about, but we never actually got fully confirmed until this episode, which is Dunk says that Sir Arlen never actually did properly knight him. So that controversy since, I don't know, it was 1997? Hang on, let me check that. God dang. When you look up the Hedge Knight now, it gives you the TV episode rather than the book. So yeah, a little under 28 years since the actual novella was released, and fans have been speculating for a long, long time over the fact that whether or not Dunk was actually knighted, and we finally actually have confirmation on that fact. Sir Arlen never actually did knight Dunk. So this whole time, Dunk, the guy who has not been very comfortable with lying at all, has been lying about the fact that he was never truly knighted. So anyway, big drop. It was one of those things like Rhaenyra's children are bastards of Harwin Strong. It's it's pretty much confirmed, but it was just never explicitly said, and now it has been. So that's very, very nice. We can finally set that fan theory to rest. Anyway, though, then Dunk comes back to his senses in, I think it's Lionel Baratheon's tent, and we see that it's sort of like a funeral for Humphrey Beesbury and Humphrey Harding. I don't think we actually see Sir Humphrey Harding's casket, but we do see Sir Humphrey Beesbury's casket, and we can see that they've turned it into essentially like a hive, right? And Lady Rowan says that they just put the queen bee in the center, so essentially the coffin becomes the hive, right? You also see these Beesbury children sort of running around. Oh, and you actually see two Knights of the Kingsguard drinking around the casket as well, which is ironic, because I don't know which killed Humphrey Beesbury, but I'm pretty sure the Kingsguard did kill him. Yeah, Sir Humphrey was slain by Sir Donald of Duskendale in the first tilt, and look who is at the funeral, right? Nevertheless, though, Daeron the Drunkard comes into the tent and starts talking to Dunk, and essentially he tells Dunk that, Arion, he wasn't always like this. There was a time when he liked to fish, and he wasn't like the monster he is now. He was actually okay. And essentially, this is sort of the defining moment that makes Dunk think oh, wait a second, if I don't take Egg right now, then he's going to turn into what Arion turned into, and I don't want to let that happen to this sweet little kid, right? I mean, it's also possible he could turn into someone like Daeron, and granted, there's the idea, of course, that Baelor is okay, Valar is also pretty cool, Mykar has some faults, but at the end of the day, he's also pretty cool. Nevertheless, though, I do think that Daron's right, that at the very least, the egg is going to become very, very entitled if he spends his formative years as a Targaryen prince, right? And Dunk also thinks that this is not a good thing, right? Because he just faced the consequences of what that actually looks like, and it's not good for him personally or for the realm. So he's like, you know what? If I take on Egg, then maybe I can help prevent that fate and keep this boy as, the boy that I have grown pretty fond of. Either way, though, then we flash to Dunk in his room, and I really like you can see that the silver hair is starting to grow in as well, which I really, really like, that little touch. I was wondering if they're ever going to do that, and it looks like they did. Anyway, though, then Egg decides to visit Aerion with a knife, seemingly like he's gonna try and kill him, right? Because it sort of seems like he mentioned in episode 3, at the end of episode 3, that he cut off his hair because he didn't want to look like Aerion, right? So now his hair's coming back, he's starting to think he looks like Aerion again, which is re-triggering some of that childhood trauma he had when Aerion did some not safe for work things. And so that's why I think the Egg decides, you know what, I'm gonna end this once and for all while Aerion is incapacitated. I'm just gonna end it, save the realm some trouble, save myself some trauma, and finish what Sir Duncan started. And then thankfully, though, Maekar's in the room to stop it, and you can see like pretty quickly the Egg's, he's tearing up, like he doesn't necessarily want to do this as well. And we've just gone through a younger Targaryen prince killing their older brother, and it's like, we don't need to go through this again. Also like how Maekar's not like, what are you doing, boy? Drop the knife right now! It's like he silently puts his arms on Egg's shoulders, and Egg drops the knife, and he's like, it's okay. At this point, though, Maekar hears that Dunk has returned for another audience, and so he leaves. And then we flash to Dunk waiting for Maekar, right? But you hear this sort of like quick steps, and it's like, oh, it's a fake out, right? Because it's not actually Maekar, it's Gwyn Ashford, right? She's just like, I don't blame you for ruining my name day, and you did what's right. And she ran right away. It also looked like she'd been crying as well. I don't know if her father put her up to that. I heard a lot of people online saying, other Song of Ice and Fire reviewers saying that maybe she was keen on Dunk, which I'm a little more inclined to believe after seeing this scene, seeing as she probably went out of her way to talk to Dunk about this. Nevertheless, I think it's sort of a moot point, because I don't think Dunk is going to end up with Lady Ashford at the end of the show. Nevertheless, though, Dunk goes to talk to Maekar, and essentially he's like, you know what, I'll take Egg, but I'm not going to Summerhall, I'm taking him on the road so that he can learn to be essentially not like all your other sons. And we also had this really, really amazing line from the novella, I think, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but Maekar's like, Aegon has led the dragon, he does not belong sleeping in the hedges and eating hard salt beef. And Dunk's like, you know what, Daeron, he slept in feather beds all his life, and I'm sure all the beef that Aaron ever ate was red and tender and bloody, right? And to this response, Maekar's just like, he's my last chance, he's my last son, right? And in all fairness, if you didn't know, or if you didn't really remember Raymond's sort of rant at the end of episode 3, you might not recall that Maekar has like a third son in between Aerion and Egg, right? Egg's the fourth son, Maester Aemon is at the Citadel, and so he's not wrong, though, in the sense that Egg is his last chance, right? Because Daeron is drunk, and Aerion is mad, and Aemon's at the Citadel far away from Maekar's reach. Egg is like his last chance for Maekar to create the sort of son that is a good person and will sort of, live up to daddy's standards, if you will. Nevertheless, though, it doesn't seem like Maekar actually gives a reply at the end of this. He sort of just walks out, and we flash forward to Dunk with the horses, and Raymond, turns out he bought Sweetfoot, and we get to see Sweetfoot return. Oh, it's such a heartwarming moment, right? I mean, I never thought I would feel this much emotion towards the horses in the show, but oh my gosh, they are really, they're the new dragons. You know what? I'm gonna say it right now. They are the new dragons of this show. In House of the Dragon, it's the dragons you really care about. You got, their names, their Pokemon card stats. In this one, it's like, the horses, and you really feel for the horses, right? Nevertheless, though, Raymond arrives to give Dunk his Sweetfoot back, and Dunk declares, like, you know what? I'm not going with Sir Lionel, and I think you should keep Sweetfoot, right? I think you're gonna need him. And also Raymond talks about how I think he's going to build out the cider business, entrepreneur in Westeros. What is this? I don't know exactly how Raymond's going to go, because I'm not sure if he's like disinherited from the Fossaway house, or if he's just like, Stefan doesn't want him around or anything like that. Nevertheless, though, I'm pretty sure it's going to work out fine for Raymond, and unfortunately I don't think we're going to ever see him much again. I mean, perhaps in a future Duncan novella, however, I don't think it's been written yet, if that is the case. Nevertheless, though, we got to see Sweetfoot again, however briefly. Raymond takes Sweetfoot and feeds her the green apple, which is very nice. I wonder, does he just keep the green apples on his person? You know what, I bet he now eats exclusively green apple. I bet there's not a red apple in his household. Nevertheless, though, we flash forward to Dunk actually, he took the penny out of Sir Arlen's sword, which we saw, they made a point of it in episode 1 to show us that there's a penny engraved in the pommel of Sir Arlen's sword, right? And we also heard early in the episode that whenever a boy leaves Penny Tree to go to war, they always sort of nail a penny into the tree, right? And this is Dunk sort of doing that for Sir Arlen, right? He's leaving it as a memento to Sir Arlen's memory, his honor, and also just sort of a recollection of, this is the events that happened here, right? Nevertheless, though, Dunk decides to tend to the horses, and who should pop over, I think literally Egg jumps over this wall. And yeah, I guess I kind of spoil it with saying that. Like, Egg arrives in his new traveling clothes. He's going for green this time, and Egg tells Dunk that, my car has allowed him to go with him. And so they start traveling along, and Dunk's like, I don't know where we're going, where should we go? And there's a lot of places in the Seven Kingdoms I've never been. And I gotta say, this is something that I have personally wanted to see for so long. There are some people who want to see the White Walkers, there are some people who want to see dragons, and then there's me, who just wants people to count the number of kingdoms that exist on the map. In fact, it was my very first video on this channel. You should definitely go check it out if you haven't. It's all about how the original Game of Thrones Season 1 sort of blundered the idea of how many kingdoms there actually were in Westeros. They sort of to miscount. And Egg sort of talks about the same thing, right? Where, like, there is 7 kingdoms in name, but there are 9 kingdoms. Anyway, though, after this, though, the episode sort of ends with Dunk and Egg sort of riding off in the sunset with this beautiful score playing, and then Sir Arlen comes in on Sweetfoot. And I gotta say, this is the point in the episode when my heart just sort of drops. It's like, it genuinely is exactly the same as, like, at the end of movies or shows or whatever. Of course, I'm not coming to any examples right now, but at the end of the show or the series, you always see, like, the ghost of someone who's passed away in the movie, who's very influential. You just sort of see them in the distance, sort of waving goodbye or whatever, right? And this is exactly what happens here, where it's like there are the 3 horses, and Sir Arlen and Sweetfoot, they're going off in a completely separate direction than Dunk and Egg. Dunk and Egg are going forward, so Arlen is going his own way. And I wouldn't have guessed that. I mean, granted, this wasn't on my bingo card, which, by the way, I did get a bingo for this episode. I wouldn't have guessed, though, that Sir Arlen, Dunk, and Egg would ever all be in the 3 same shots. I really, really like how also Dunk's head just sort of turns towards Sir Arlen when Sir Arlen ends up heading in the opposite direction. It's just like, oh, it's like this little nod of, like, this is what Dunk's seeing. Like, this is what he's picturing, right? It just, again, goes to hammer home the idea that this is Dunk's story. I mean, it's definitely the tales of Dunk and Egg, but it's also Dunk's POV that we're really following. Anyway, though, that's sort of like the narrative ending of the show, right? Nevertheless, though, there is like a little end credit scene as well, which I thought was like, I genuinely wasn't expecting, but I was also so glad to see. Like, we can see Arion, he's too beat up to ride a horse, so he's in a cart. And you see all the Targaryens, they're all leaving the tournament, right? You see Arion, you see Daeron, you see Mycor, you see Valar. Like, everyone's leaving, and then pretty quickly, I kind of figured this out when Mycor was looking around. Like, what is Mycor looking around for if not for Egg? And it turns out that Mycor never gave Egg the go-ahead. Egg never got the go-ahead for Mycor. He sort of left on his own, which, like, I'm not sure if that's the case in the novella, because seeing as this is not from Dunk's perspective, I don't think. Nevertheless, though, that's sort of like the last proper scene of, like, Mycor's going, like, where the F is Aegon? And then we actually cut to, it seems like original song as well. I couldn't parse anything from the song that seemed uniquely Westerosi. It was, like, talking about people in a coal mine, right? And I'm like, are there coal mines in Westeros? I haven't heard of this. Nevertheless, I'm not going to nitpick at the original song and in the end credits of the season finale of a show that was freaking amazing. Speaking of which, since it is the finale, let's talk a little bit about the show as a whole, right? So, this is just something I say in my personal life, where it's like, Lord of the Rings is the fate of the whole world, and The Hobbit is an adventure story. I think it's sort of the same thing with Night of the Seven Kingdoms and House of the Dragon, right? They're just 2 fundamentally different shows, set in the same universe, many years apart, granted. Nevertheless, they are different stories, and Dunk and Egg's stories are going to go very, very cool places. I mean, don't get me wrong, this story is sort of, it still centers on the Targaryens and the royals, and the future stories are going to center a little less away from the actual Targaryen family, especially the second novella, which is season 2, which is already filming right now. Yay, we'll get that next year. Nevertheless, though, I am rambling, and the point is, though, that all in all, I went into this season expecting a very small, very, not necessarily forgettable, but like a story that is good, but not as good as the other one, right? That's what I was expecting. That's honestly what I thought was going to happen. And then, I gotta say, at the end of this, I can't honestly say that I like A Night of the Seven Kingdoms more than I like House of the Dragon. Because House of the Dragon is fundamentally a different story than A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and it has 2 seasons out, whereas Night of the Seven Kingdoms only has 1 out. Game of Thrones shows at this point have a 3 for 3 of first seasons being remarkable masterpieces, right? So we'll have to see what Dunk and Egg's second season brings. However, Parker having George's backing and the fact that they're filming the second season right now, and the fact that George himself has also been clearly in contact with Dunk and Egg himself, I have nothing but hope for this show. And I gotta say, in terms of my personal enjoyment, in terms of my personal hype levels, I will put this show on equal footing to House of the Dragon. And that, for me, that is my personal, like, big ticket moment, big revolution, big character change, however you want to say. Dunk and Egg, for me, has now moved from the A show level to the A++ show, the where House of the Dragon and Game of Thrones lie. Alright then, that's it. It was amazing, amazing episode, amazing 6 weeks. I can't believe we're going to have to wait, like, I don't know, like 3 months until we actually get Westeros back again. What are we going to do with this channel in the meantime? Well, I've got a few big videos that I'm working on, and hopefully without this sort of a weekly release schedule, I can get back to working on those other videos. That being said, though, I posted a video on the Kingsguard that should have come out the same day as the finale. Hopefully that does well. And if you made it this far, which I seriously doubt anyone has, nevertheless, though, if you made it this far, I say thank you very much for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, all that jazz, and I will see you all, I don't know, House of the Dragon Season 3, Dunk and Egg Season 2, and whatever videos they end up making. So until then, have a good rest of your day. Fly Morgulis.